Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the VivKB podcast. Our first return edition with a return guest. Thorpe, he's back.
Here we go. I'm excited.
Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Salaysay is back in studio, our new studio, and fresh off, finally competing, finishing that journey, man.
Yeah, it was good. Good couple of weeks.
So the last time we sort of sat down and talked, obviously, no shock horrors here. I was very present with Mark's prep, this entire time. But the last time we spoke, we did the pilot episode of this, and we just released that on the SoundCloud. So if you haven't seen that yet, by all means, check out that interview on the SoundCloud. But now we finished that journey, dude, and what a season it's been.
Yeah, pretty successful season. I think going into this one is probably the best result we could have asked for. Yeah.
Well, I think this is literally your best season ever, isn't it?
Probably the most successful season today, yeah, definitely.
Cool. So when we last, spoke to the audience and explained what we were doing, we were aiming for the bodybuilding title at the time, so the short class bodybuilding title. And in the end, well, you definitely put a big challenge in for that. But there has been a new division that we always toyed with the idea of, but never committed to because it wasn't offered here in Canberra. It's been around for 2 years. That's known as the Classic Physique division. And we thought this time, why not?
Yeah, we thought, bodybuilding, the only thing we were sort of lacking in bodybuilding was size. But I've always been praised about shape and symmetry. And Classic Physique is one of the main bits of criteria, so might as well give it a go this year.
And I think it was just one of those crazy things that even the judges said was Classic Physique. As soon as you stepped on stage, you looked like a Classic Physique competitor. And obviously the results showed.
Yeah, so managed to get 2 overall wins, one at the coast, one here in Canberra. So definitely the best result we could have.
So these are your first ever overall wins as well?
First ever overall wins as well, yeah. So still hasn't really sunk in, but yeah, definitely something that's pretty cool. Didn't really expect it, but it was cool to get.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was obviously a big journey. Well, let's just go back to the start of all of this and talk about the beginning of this prep. How long would you say this prep was?
This prep, well, as soon as I stepped off stage last year, so 2018 season A, we went in straight through to an off-season diet with no real plans of when we were going to compete. It wasn't towards the end of last year or maybe we'll just give another season A crack. So I'd say around 24 weeks.
Cool.
Could have been. So
just pretty much again another half year of your life committed to this.
Yeah.
What were some of the challenges you found with this prep?
With this one here, well, seeing as we had a pretty good off season, the calories were very high this whole prep. So I pretty much cruised through the whole prep. Probably the last 4 weeks when you started dropping my calories was a little bit tough. But most of the challenges came just before we actually started the prep. So I suffered a couple of quad injuries. I believe it was 2 to my right leg, 1 to my left leg, and then also a hamstring injury a week before we started prep to my right side. And then in between all of that, I also got a stomach virus as well. Dropped about 4 kilos in between that, and we thought maybe we might pull the plug and give it another year of off season. But we then decided, no, we'll just
commit to it.
And
it was good in the end. I mean, we had a couple of telltale signs, didn't we? So Mark was originally going to do a powerlifting comp, and he sort of structured his training accordingly for that. And then these injuries happened a week out.
Yeah.
And we sort of just said, man, this is just a sign that...
It was just like, nah, we gotta fucking pull the plug here. So...
Let's just do bodybuilding.
We were training for bodybuilding, towards it, as we were getting close to the powerlifting comp, we was just like, nah, we'll just train for bodybuilding. And then I remember it was just a week out. One day I was like, I'm just gonna train my legs hard, and then felt my hamstring kind of go. So since then we all got together, me, you, Matt, was just like, no, you know what, we've got to cut that out and just focus on bodybuilding.
Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, Matt is our physio. Matt Tran works out at Matrix Physio here in Queanbeyan. It's been amazing. I think we're lucky to have been friends with this guy since high school.
Yeah.
I used to cheat off him in tests. Mark used to steal his lunch. But in the end, he still stuck by us.
And we wouldn't have got through without him.
Yeah, he was definitely very instrumental with this prep. Mm-hmm. But okay, let's talk about the tail end weeks of this prep. So your calories were much higher than they've ever been before.
Yeah.
So to give the guys out there a bit of an idea, what were your macros and calories at roughly?
Calorie wise, throughout the whole prep, we're doing high day, low days. So some weeks will be too high, too low.
So carb cycling.
Yeah, carb cycling. So a high day was roughly around 3,200 calories, and then a low day was around 2,000, I believe, 7. We worked it out to be. So still very high. Even the last couple of weeks, we took away the carb cycling and just did just a meal plan, and even then it was still about 2,400, 2,500. So I think doing a full proper off season really helped me eat into the show, and only have to tailor the calories down towards the end.
I think it shows you how important it is to have a good off season, because how much weight did you lose in this entire?
I pretty much stayed my off season weight throughout the whole prep. It's about 4 to 6 weeks out, and only really lost about, I think like 4 or 5 kilos.
That entire
prep, yeah. So definitely weight-wise didn't change much, but body composition definitely changed.
And I think for anyone that has Mark on social media, if you follow the journey, you will definitely have seen his body change. He's got leaner, but there's a couple of progress pics from sort of then to now that have been updated and uploaded. Pretty cool to actually have a look at, to realize that sometimes you can eat more food and still get the desired result of weight loss and fat loss without having to, sacrifice and starve yourself. It's just a case of having the right kind of off season.
Yeah. So when it becomes a lifestyle, that's when it becomes so much easier. Before then, I used to just binge or whatever, not track anything during the off season and just roll into a prep, and that's where your calories have to drop, because you don't know where the starting you have to drop. Whereas my coach knew what I was eating throughout the whole time and could just feed me through. So,
well, let's talk about what you said with the lifestyle. When we last spoke, obviously we found what your motivation was to doing this show. Yeah. Did your mindset change throughout this prep, or how did you feel mentally?
Throughout this prep, my mindset, so after initially starting bodybuilding, my mindset has definitely changed. So it definitely has become a lifestyle for me. I could get off stage and just go straight back into eating the same thing. So definitely my mindset has now become more focused on a goal as opposed to like
doing it for someone else,
trying to impress people. I think that was a big one for me, is like not actually caring what people think you look like on stage or whatever. Like, I love training, I love dieting now, so it's like more become about me and what I enjoy. So it's not about what others think of me, it's about what I enjoy and what makes me happy.
Yeah. So with this prep in particular, I know we spoke about this, throughout the journey, but the internal pressures that you put on yourself, because there was a big battle, obviously, that took place. And it was a battle that you didn't even expect. We were sort of just doing the show that, like, we're just going to try and get a top 3 placing. Yeah. And then there was a lot of talk around Canberra, especially, about you and Lee. Yeah. And now Lee is a former overall champion. So if you actually saw the podcast with Wesley, I'm not too sure when that's going to go up. It'll eventually go up. Thorpe's problem. Lee Lem, who's a former overall bodybuilding champion, a great competitor, great physique. Yeah. It was crazy because suddenly people started bringing your name up.
Yeah, that was something like that I didn't expect. So we just went into this show. I knew Lee was competing, and that was like one of my motivations to kind of like push myself to really try and challenge him. Like him being a former overall winner, I was like, I'm going to have my work cut out for me. So that was something cool that like to give me motivation. And then towards the end of the prep, at least, when people started seeing me shape up, even random people that trained with Lee or around Lee, like they started mentioning like, we can't wait to see you two go at it, which is like, for me, that's pretty cool, because always being the guy that was at the end of the lineup, standing at the end of the lineup, not really getting looked at, always overlooked, to actually have his name thrown in with the top level competitors of the show was like pretty cool. So that was a very humbling feeling.
And I think in a literal sense that happened as well, from where you started in that lineup, and then when they moved you and Lee into the middle of the open short class, you sort of went, yeah, cool, this is happening now.
Yeah, so even having your name put in against former overalls is something crazy. Like, to just see how far you come from, yes, being the skinny guy to now everyone's like, oh, I'm excited to see you on stage, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with this prep, how long into it did we decide that classic was an option?
Really? It was really only towards the end, maybe the last 3 or 4 weeks, we kind of saw that it was going to be introduced into the show. And I can't remember if it was you or if it was the boss man was like, hey, would you consider doing this division? And at first, I'm not going to lie, at first I was like, nah, fuck that. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, it kind of felt like, oh, what the fuck? No one's got like any fucking faith in me. Like, fuck that. I'm not changing. I'm not fucking changing any division to some fucking pansy ass fucking division kind of thing. And then I looked at you see the classic physique competitors in the IFBB, and they're pretty fucking hectic. So they're all like unreal physiques. But then they had this poster of the classic physique. What classic physique should look like in ICN, and I was like, I'm not doing that. One of them was like again, just my personal opinion, but like when it's like gay, like inside poses, you know, I was like, nah, come on, that's not. I love the aggressive side of bodybuilding, so that's why I was like that. But then, as we sort of went through the poses, went through proper classic, like we just approached it as if it was classic physique for.
Yeah.
And that kind of got me enticed to do a little bit more.
I think what it is because it's still such a new division that there isn't enough of it being showcased.
Yeah.
So therefore, the information that was put out there about the division
was very limited.
Very limited, and sometimes, and I say this with all due respect, some people are good at posing and others aren't, and sometimes. If someone's just happy to help, that's all well and good. But if they're not very good at the posing, it dampens what is actually meant to be showcased. So we were lucky though. We found some other poses of the classic physique done in years prior, and went, okay, cool. It's not as bad as we thought.
We saw a few ICN videos, and we're like, okay, the division isn't actually what I think. They just need to update that. Poster, but we saw the lineups and we're like, oh, you know what, they're actually hitting the proper classic poses, so that would actually look pretty cool. So I was like, you know what, yeah, let's give it a go. And then as soon as I kind of learned the posing, it was like, yeah, it's actually like classic bodybuilding is what everyone loves, like Arnie, everyone knows Arnie, Frank Zane and all of them, so it's like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
So we finally got to do that. Well, let's touch on the first show. So since then we've done 2 shows.
Correct.
The first one was the Clash of the Coast. This was your first time doing Clash of the Coast?
Second,
no, because you went intermediate. Sorry.
Previous year we did Clash of the Coast, but we just did bodybuilding.
Right. So this is your first time stepping on stage in the Classic division, Clash of the Coast. Were there any nerves getting back up on stage?
There was a Clash of the Coast, not so much. It was a little bit of nerves, but I think having such a new crew around us, a lot of first-time competitors, I think I kind of took the responsibility on myself to lead from the front, if that makes sense. Absolutely. So just try not to show nerves, just try to get everyone involved and just try to make it like as calming experience for the others as possible. I was kind of nervous, but yeah, I didn't really try to show it to them. I
think it's pretty funny. So for those that don't know us well, we love doing what we call away shows, where we travel interstate and we'll do a show. For this show in particular, I had 8 or 9 clients doing it, and all these guys were like first-time competitors, bar maybe one of mine and Mark as well. Now, I was emceeing this show, so I went to 2 of the guys, Matt, our physio, and Mitch, a former client of mine, and said, guys, these are your instructions for these competitors. All you have to do is tell them to have these meals at this time, tell them to have these subs before they pump up, and you're all good to go. Now, I guess...
It's just a story.
that's much easier said than done. Because I think they didn't understand the sort of pressures that come with that. So I'm on stage, I'm emceeing the show, you're at the back relaxing.
So yeah, I like to be like, as you do at a bodybuilding show, you like to be relaxed going into it. Had my feet up, had my headphones in, and then it's about time for everyone to go on stage. And then I had all of these people just rush over to me like, what do we do here? What do we do here? What are we doing with this drink? What are we doing this? And I'm like, take my headphones off. All right. Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? And they're like, none of them had the stuff. And I was like, all right, fuck. Luckily, I was prepared because I knew what was going on. So made all their drinks up. One of them rushed over. I was just like, bro, here, give me the thing. I'll make a drink too. Fuck, whatever. I made all of that, and that's all good. They all go on stage and do the thing, and then it's back to me focusing on myself. Put my headphones in, my feet up, and then it's time for us to go on stage. And I was supposed to have someone help me pump up, and then I was like, all right. Then one of the two, I can't remember who was starting to help me pump up, and then one of the first time competitors come over and he's like, oh shit, what do I do here? And then the two helpers then left me, and I was like, I was there holding this pump up, and I was like, motherfuckers left me in the dust. Boom, I chucked the band, and I was like, fuck it, I'm not gonna fucking pump up. Started like pacing around. I was angry. I was asking Peter and Shahan and the other guys. I was like, is it fucking slippery out there? My fingers slippery started wiping my feet. I was just like agitated and starting to get nervous then. And then I was like, brother, no slippery, it's fine. But yeah, that was the only bit of nerves that I had going into that show, because you were obviously busy emceeing, and the other two was their first time sort of helping, and I had to kind of take over and do a bit of like coaching and competitor kind of thing. So it was like a lot to juggle, but got out there, and then as soon as you get out on stage, everything just leaves you.
It was a weird experience.
That was the strangest backstage experience I've ever had to deal with.
Because you have it all planned in your head, you're just like, I'm just going to go there, I'm going to relax, I'm not going to do anything, and then straight away you go, brother. And you're like, what the fuck?
Shahan, I'm looking at you. He runs over to me, he's like, brother, what are you doing? And I was like, bro, do you have Coke? And then Kai was this massive fucking like shaker full of Coke. I was like, just give me something. But it was good. It was a good one. It's a good story to tell.
It's one of those things you can appreciate it now.
Now that it's done. But fuck, I was fuming, man. I was like, fuck, man.
I remember I went backstage just to wish the boys good luck, and then I just see you. I'm like, what the fuck are you angry for? You're like, they fucking left me in the dust. I'm like, oh shit, where's your pump up guy?
So fucking sorry. And then I was standing, I was like walking up and down the stairs before we went out. I was like, fuck. But then yeah, as soon as you step out on stage, it all leaves, and your nerves are gone, everything's gone, and it's just, you're there to enjoy.
Let's talk about doing Classic for the first time. How did you find that experience?
It's a new division for everyone, so the calls were a little bit like, still didn't know what poses to call first, and like the way we all hit our poses, like we never really practiced it, so we did like the tiniest variation of a bodybuilding pose. There was one pose that I was like kind of knew what I was doing, which was my back double bicep, and then the signature classic, which went all pretty smoothly, but we still all kind of felt a bit lost out there. So it was like being a first time competitor. It's
hard when you can't do research into something, because I know when I first started competing, I'd look at people in my division and go, I want to mimic something like that, and that's what you used as homework.
As homework.
Whereas with this, all you had was really shitty photos of a guy that shouldn't be in the division.
Yeah.
And then,
which was a little hard to study for, but then we all just thought, you know what, we're just going to apply what we know. So we just did this simple, basic, classic double bicep and all that kind of stuff. So that carried us through to the division. It felt, again, like a brand new competitor, but yeah, the classic was a lot of fun because you get to add your own sort of touch to the pose. So.
And I think the cool thing about classic is definitely a division I recommend to anyone that's passionate about posing.
Yeah.
Because you can, like you said, you add your own touch to it, and I think that's great.
And everyone loves that old school bodybuilding look, so it's a nice division to do.
Totally. So that's your first overall?
That was my first overall, yeah.
We spoke about on the day, you said, fuck, you didn't really get to...
I didn't really get to enjoy that one too much, so Classic Opens was straight before bodybuilding opened, so before I went on stage, they're like, yeah, you got a division after this, and I was like, all right. So as soon as I got my name called out, posed for the photo, and then I ran back stage, and they're like, yeah, you got to go back on. Obviously, I still got the classic shorts on, and you get my trunks on, so I was like backstage running around trying to unclip the numbers and clip them back on. So it's like it didn't really get to process that I actually had just won something. But then when we stepped out for bodybuilding, and then Anthony from the coast had all his crew there, and we had all our crew there, and then as soon as we stepped on stage, the crowd just erupted, and it was real loud, and that was like, it was kind of like a switch to like game on now kind of thing. So that was pretty intense.
How did that feel to now not just be there sitting on the side, but be brought straight to the front with the guy that was predicted to win the show? Yeah.
Well, again, everyone predicted that he was just going to steamroll through me. So stepping out on stage, I definitely was a little bit nervous, but obviously got to be confident out there. And for them to actually put us through a few rounds and the crowd get stuck into it, everyone saying that it was pretty close, was pretty cool. So making us do a few rounds and just the crowd going wild was like, I'm starting to be competitive. Like, it's like...
And I think just so people know, this is not Mark being delusional like a lot of people are. This The scores were legit split. The judges had a split decision to make, and that's why they ended up putting you through the rounds. And I think just because you'd done a division prior that you'd won, your body just started to tire
a little bit. And we didn't do a real like carb up or peak for anything. We just kept it the same. So I definitely was a little bit tired. Posing conditioning was a little bit tough on the day, but to actually have a battle, a battle on the stage was an amazing feeling. Like even just having his crowd scream for him, our crowd scream for me, to be thrown in the mix that's an incredible feeling. And then I guess missing out on that feeling of actually winning something, or the feeling of getting to enjoy winning something, to actually going in for a battle was, I guess kind of made up for it.
I think we said it as well. You said this was the best result we could ask for.
It was the best result we could ask for.
Because we had the idea, once the decision was made that we're doing classic, that, okay, this suits the body type.
Yeah.
Let's win this one.
Yeah.
Or do our best to win it.
Yeah.
And then let's just have a good fucking crack at the Opens. And then you literally did that. You had a good crack at the Opens.
Yeah. Going into this season, even for bodybuilding, we knew I'm never going to go into a show and clean it up. I'm always going to have to battle. So a guy built like me, I'm always going to have to battle. So we always knew that doing bodybuilding, I'm going to have to fucking work for it. And we knew that Anthony or Lee, we knew that they would have to be off and I'd have to be spot on for me to actually be competitive. So we kind of knew that the whole time, but we knew with Classic it's suited for my physique, so we knew that we'd definitely have a good shot at winning that.
So you won Classic, you come second in the Opens, we're travel back to Canberra, we've got a week to go till the next show.
Yeah.
What did Nick say after the first show?
Bossman was happy. He was like, yeah, you know what, you should be happy, you've made a lot of improvements. He's just got more muscle than you. Yeah. So it's like you can be competitive, but we're going to need to put on 2 or 3 muscles.
3 kilos.
2 or 3 kilos of muscle for you to actually be competitive in Opens bodybuilding, but you're almost close there. And it's like, classic physique is what suits you best. So we're like, all right.
It's pretty weird getting a compliment from Nick, isn't it?
Yeah, Nick, from being fucking yelled at all the time and saying that we're losers, and then actually getting a compliment. For
anyone that doesn't know, and I hope I don't butcher this, but one of the greatest moments Mark and I have ever had was we both had this similar experience, but we'll talk about Mark specifically because this was more recent, where we'd be at Nick's house. His wife would come out, his kids would be there, and he'd put us through rounds. So this time Mark's going through his rounds. And you could see everyone's just impressed that you're just looking so good. And Nick would just turn to his wife and go, fuck, I turned some losers into champions.
That's his number one quote, but he's like, fuck, I turned some losers into champions. And then his wife's like, Dick, you can't call them that. And he's like, what? Were they losers before? They were losers. Is he a champion now? He's a champion. Fuck. Yeah. So it's pretty funny, like, yeah.
He's very matter of fact.
Very matter of fact, but man, yeah. He definitely keeps us accountable, so...
And I think you couldn't have asked for a better prep.
Couldn't have asked for it. Like, everything, this whole prep went according to plan, so... Yeah.
So we'll talk about this Canberra show now. Results were virtually the same.
Pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah, but in bigger lineups.
Bigger lineups, yeah. Bigger lineups, bigger pressure in front of the home crowd. So I was definitely feeling the nerves for this one. Definitely feeling the nerves, especially because like a lot of people in Canberra were hyped up about me and Lee going at it. This whole prep, I knew he had me. Like I'm not gonna lie, I knew he had me until maybe like a couple of weeks out. I was like, fuck, maybe we could give this a good crack. Like maybe we could actually push him. So that was my motivation throughout this whole time. And then after being pretty successful at the coast, we were confident that we could probably bring something better for Canberra. So I was like, I was getting excited for it, but I was also getting pretty nervous too.
That's right. Well, you ended up winning your second overall title in a much bigger lineup for Classic, which probably made it feel even better.
And this week for Classic was a lot more comfortable because we
understood the
posing. So we went and spoke to the judges, Lauren and Belinda, and just got a bit more clarification on what the actual poses were because we're all just hitting variations of bodybuilding poses. So we got a bit more clarification on that, and then we tweaked the poses, and it was a lot more comfortable that week.
Absolutely. Now, one thing that we were doing this entire time was the reintroduction of being able to do a posing routine.
Yeah.
Your routine was pretty cool.
It was.
Explain the story behind why you chose this routine.
All right. So, just to reiterate what happened. So, if you haven't heard it, go listen to the podcast if you don't want to hear us talking about it now. But yeah, basically, my journey. That routine explained my journey into bodybuilding. So basically, long story short, got rejected by a girl. And then training became a big part of my life, and then that led to the stage. So without that particular moment, I probably would have never been pushed to bodybuilding. And there was this one song by a rapper, XXXTentacion, rest in peace, which just, the lyrics were just on point to how I was feeling at the time. So I remember Viv picking a couple songs, he's like, hey man, do this. Hey man, do this. And then I was like, I want to do this song. And even like Steph was like, yeah, that song's a bit more you. And I was like, yeah. And then Viv's like, well, how about you try this? And I was like, look, I don't care what the routine looks like. As long as it's to this song, I'll do what it takes to make it work. We'll spend hours practicing it, but it needs to be this song.
And literally we spent about 20 weeks.
We spent a good long time just hours and hours doing rounds, tweaking little things, recording, watching it back, hitting the timings of the lyrics to the poses, and a lot of time and effort went into that one. Because, again, the goal was to express emotion, get the crowd emotionally involved into it, and just, be able to finally, because we've always wanted to do posing routines, and this was the opportunity to finally be able to do that. After 4 years of competing, it's like, I finally get this opportunity.
Do you feel like you expressed yourself on that day?
I feel like I expressed it to the best that I can. Maybe one or two shots I look back at it and I was like, I could hit that better, but it went so smooth that I couldn't really fault it at all. And going backstage, everyone's like, I had shivers, I felt like crying, I had shivers, and then just getting stuff like that was really it was really touching.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's for everyone. You've got to find things that appeal to you. And if you're able to find things that appeal to you, it gives the journey a bit more purpose as well. and especially with like posing routines. I mean, you and I have been pitching for this for 5 years.
So long.
You know, 5 years we pitched for this, and have been consistently told no.
Yeah.
Until I think we sold enough tickets this year.
It's like, yeah, okay, fine.
We sold enough tickets this year to be allowed to
have that,
bring this back in, and it wasn't just us. I mean, fuck, there was some
like
amazing routines.
All the routines that were done. I think Nick's big skeptical issue was when routines were done, there was not much effort put into them, and you could really see that. Whereas this one, everyone's routine was on point essentially. It's like it was really crowd engaging. I don't think anyone was like, oh fuck, that was a shit routine. Like everyone had a really good routine.
People took it seriously.
Yeah, like people actually like when you get like as a competitor, when you get put through rounds, it's kind of robotic. It's like you never really get a chance to express the artistic side of bodybuilding. And even in the pose down, like you've already been put through hard rounds, you go into the pose down and you've got more divisions in the day. You don't really want to waste all your energy just hitting random poses in the crowd in the pose down, where it's like, now this, with the posing routine, it's like, here you go, it's me for a minute and a half or whatever you have. And it's like that, all eyes are on me at this stage. Like I could have come last in every other division, but this here is my moment to show off all that hard work, whereas opposed to just being told what to do in a round kind of thing.
Absolutely. And I mean, it was a cool routine. Anyone who hasn't seen it, it is now uploaded on your social media?
Social media, so Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, so if you check it out, you can see the comments there are lovely. You can tell when someone cares.
Yeah.
You know, you can tell when the effort has been put in to a posing routine. Now, look, you're finished up for season 8, to my understanding.
Yep.
Cool. But you're not done for the year.
We're not done for the year.
This is pretty exciting.
So, again, after every season, we always go back to the boss man. We'll sit down and we'll speak about what we want to do next. Initially, our plans were to do city nationals.
In about 4 or 5 weeks, yeah.
In about, I think it's a little bit longer than that, 6 or 7. Yeah, so in May, we were planning to do that, bodybuilding and classic physique. But getting all the feedback from the judges is just like, the overall is just like opens bodybuilding for me as a competitor is like a flip of a coin. It's depending on who I get in the lineup, is whether or not I can win that or not. Whereas with classic physique, it's more suited to my physique shape, symmetry, conditioning, not necessarily size. So we were going to do city nationals to do classic and bodybuilding, but Nick was like, look, if you want to give it a real crack, you could probably do classic at a national level. And if you want, you can probably go for your pro card in that. So we've decided to make the decision to go through to season B and give it a real crack in the Aussie titles.
And this is pretty exciting because this is the first time in 3 years you're doing a season B show.
Very long time. So 2016, at the show in Canberra that I got embarrassed at, was the last time I did a season B show. And they didn't have classic back then. If they had classic, maybe, I would probably could have done a lot better, but they didn't have classic physique back then. And now that they do, it's like, let's go for it. It's a division, it is a good division. It's a division that I like. The only reason that I was ever afraid of straying away from bodybuilding is because I didn't want to be seen as someone who's running away from a challenge or anything. Like, I will still always compete bodybuilding, but if there's a chance for me to become a professional at what I love doing, why not go for it?
Well, I think it's two very different areas. You'll have traditionally, at least the last 6-7 years, right, there's been men's fitness, men's physique, and men's bodybuilding. Those have been the 3 categories. And it was sort of frowned upon. I don't care what anyone says. Yeah. And it happens a lot, more so in the men's physique category, where men's physique guys will drop down to men's fitness. Because they, for better choice of words, can't hang with the physique guys and then try and beat smaller guys to sort of compensate. Classic physique is something that has just been introduced. It's not like you've gone, I'm dropping down to classic physique. I'm entering classic physique.
It's a variation of bodybuilding, which is why I don't really feel too guilty about doing it, because it is still classic era bodybuilding.
Still need legs.
Yeah. So, for me, on a personal level, that was always something that kept me in bodybuilding, kept me away from dropping down to any other division. That's just me personally. Like I've always tried to step up to the challenge, and to have classic physique there as well now, which is more suited to my physique. I was always known as a in-betweener, so I was not like I had the shape for bodybuilding but not the size. So now to have that classic physique division, which everyone reckons suits me better, why not give it a crack, you know?
How far do you think you'll go in classic physique?
Classic physique, I really love even an Aussie title. A pro card is the big goal for that one. But again, we'll take it show at a time. Firstly, I'd love to win it again here in the Canberra show at the ACT state titles, which everyone thinks I've got a good chance in doing. So I definitely want to work towards that. If we can achieve that, Aussie titles, hopefully win an open class, win a pro card. But if I can push for classic, then I'll definitely do it. Nick thinks this will be my best year to do it because this is the best I've ever looked. So if I can just add a bit more muscle to weak areas like my triceps, bit in the hamstrings, then definitely give it a good crack.
So the goal is overall champion season B.
That's the goal.
We're in trouble then because Mark's got 4 titles, I've got 5.
I'm just creeping up.
It's going to be Mark and Viv for sure. But no, you know what? Nothing will make me happier than seeing you take out that overall title again. And then I'm excited to see you push for this national title because to this day, that's the one thing.
That's the one thing that I've always missed out on. I've just never been ready for the Aussie titles. So this year, as I said, we came in clutch. So we didn't really know what I was working with until maybe the last 4 weeks of prep. And now that we see that I actually do have carry a bit of muscle there now, man, might as well push it. So Nick's written me up a diet. We've started it already. Again, the week, it was like 3 or 4 days ago that the show was on, and everyone's like, how do you feel? Like, does it feel nice to win? I was like, oh, look, it was nice to win, but now like my mind's already switched over into work mode. So again, it's just like, I'm straight back into it, which is what I love doing. So it's like, no stress to me. Everyone's like, oh, don't you want to eat? Don't you want? I was like, look, I can eat once the competition is done.
Yeah, so you had a pretty good dinner Saturday night,
yeah.
So...
Guys, how are we?
Didn't you have Greek food? And we had burgers.
I was at Burgers. You know how... Let me prove myself. I was at Burgers because how else would I know that Peter had a cheesecake there?
Peter put a photo up.
Peter put the video up that I took of him.
You know what? This isn't a shoot interview, so it is okay. Mark did eventually turn up to dinner with the team. We had an amazing team this year, and it was amazing because you were there to help lead the troops through Season A, and I'm sure you will be the one to do it again through Season B, man.
Thank you.
So good luck with it. Good luck with the prep. We're probably going to keep updating you because...
Yeah, definitely love to come back maybe mid-prep, see how we're feeling then, because it is going to be a long one. I believe 24 weeks till Canberra titles, or ACT titles, yeah.
Wow.
So ACT state titles, 24 weeks, and then I think maybe 4 or 5 after that for Aussie titles.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be a long one, it's going to be good, I'm excited. And yeah, excited to have a new team around us as well, and even some of the older members join us as well.
Yeah, so this is going to be a pretty special year.
It's going to be a good one.
Yeah. So for anyone that does want to know, September 22nd here in Canberra at the Hellenic Club of Woden, they are moving back to a bigger venue because, well, they sold out on the weekend and you could definitely see it in the crowd. It was a loud crowd. They're moving back to a larger venue to accommodate for what will no doubt be probably one of the biggest Season B shows, in the show's history.
Excited. Excited, nervous. Yeah, it's gonna breeze, like the time will breeze past.
No, I think you're gonna do really, really well, man. Thank you once again for coming on, bro.
Thanks for having me again.
No worries, and thank you, Thorpe.
No worries.
Mr. Thorpe.
Of course.
Thanks, guys.